It was a bright afternoon, sunlight bouncing off a row of luxury cars parked outside Raymond Tech Tower. The hum of traffic blended with the faint chirping of birds. Mr. Raymond, a sharply dressed billionaire in his early 50s, stepped out of the glass building with his phone buzzing in one hand. 3 missed calls, 2 meetings pending. The usual rhythm of a man who owned time but never had enough of it. As he adjusted his cufflinks, something unusual caught his attention near the parking lot's edge. A small figure crouched on the pavement, her hand moving quickly over the concrete with a piece of chalk. A young homeless girl, clothes worn, hair messy, but her movements were careful, precise. Beside her lay a notebook pieced together from scraps of cardboard and torn paper. And sitting cross-legged right beside her, still in her neat school uniform, was Raymond's 9-year-old daughter, Zara. The driver, standing near the car, panicked. "Miss Zara, please step back. Don't sit there, it's dirty." Without looking up, Zara replied, "I'm learning." Raymond frowned, walking closer, the sound of his expensive shoes tapping against the pavement. "Zara," he said calmly but firmly, "what are you doing here?" She looked up innocently. "Papa, she's teaching me division." "Look." She pointed at the chalk markings, fractions and numbers neatly written across the gray concrete. "Teaching you?" Raymond repeated, puzzled. His tone was more disbelief than anger. The homeless girl looked up at him, large brown eyes, cautious but unafraid. She didn't understand how to divide 12 by 4, she said softly. "I showed her." "Enough now," the driver interjected, frowning. "You shouldn't." "Stop shouting at her," Zara snapped, surprising them both. Her voice trembled, but her eyes were fierce. The driver stepped back awkwardly. The girl didn't move. She still held the chalk lightly, her expression calm, dignified. Raymond crouched slightly, studying her face. "What's her name?" he asked. "Amal," she said simply. "Do you go to school, Amal?" She smiled faintly, shaking her head. "Not anymore. But I remember my lessons." Raymond's gaze lingered, the dirt on her hands, the cracks on her skin, but behind those eyes was something strikingly sharp. She was clearly intelligent, maybe even gifted. "Papa," Zara said proudly, "she's really smart. She said numbers are like stories." Amal nodded and added quietly, "Every number means something. How much you share, how much you keep." For a moment, the line hung in the air. Raymond straightened, unsure why those words unsettled him. He had spent his life surrounded by numbers, profit, growth, percentages, yet never had anyone define them with such innocence and depth. "Come on, Zara," he said after a pause. "We're late." Zara hesitated. She looked at Amal, reached into her pocket, and took out a half-melted chocolate bar. "For you," she said. "And thank you, teacher." Amal smiled shyly. "You're welcome." Raymond opened the car door, and as he and Zara sat inside, he glanced one last time through the window. Amal was already back on the ground, surrounded by 2 other small children, teaching them something with the same piece of chalk. Her hand moved quickly, her eyes bright despite the dust and noise around her. "These street kids," the driver muttered, shaking his head. "Always everywhere." Raymond didn't respond. He kept looking out of the window as the car rolled forward, watching Amal's small figure disappear into the blur of the city. Her voice echoed in his mind. "Every number means something." He exhaled slowly, his reflection overlapping the moving cityscape. For the first time in a long while, the billionaire felt something shift inside him, a quiet discomfort he couldn't quite name. The city lights shimmered ahead, the sound of the engine humming like a heartbeat. He looked down at his phone, a new notification flashing. Quarterly revenue plus 12%. Yet somehow, that number felt meaningless now. As the car turned the corner, the chalk lines Amal had drawn were still faintly visible on the ground, refusing to fade completely. He had no idea that this 5-minute moment, a child's lesson on a sidewalk, was about to upend his entire empire. Evening settled like gold dust over the Raymond mansion, a palace of glass and marble where silence echoed louder than footsteps. The chandelier lights shimmered across the spotless floor, bouncing off paintings that cost more than entire neighborhoods. In the middle of this cold perfection sat Zara, cross-legged on a Persian rug, a math workbook open before her. A private tutor hovered nearby, reciting formulas in a monotone. Now, Zara, if 12 is divided by 4, the quotient is 3. She finished before he could. Her voice was flat. He nodded stiffly, flipping another page. Good. Let's continue. But Zara wasn't listening anymore. Her mind was still on the sidewalk, on the girl with chalk-dusted fingers who had made numbers feel alive. Amal hadn't just taught math. She had told a story with it. Every number means something, she had said. Here, in this glittering cage, the numbers meant nothing. They floated, cold and hollow, like the chandeliers above her head. The tutor's voice droned on for another 10 minutes before Raymond appeared at the doorway, phone pressed to his ear. His tailored suit was impeccable, his tone sharp. Yes, close the deal by Monday. No excuses. He hung up only to scroll through another message. Papa, Zara said softly. He looked up briefly. I finished all my lessons. That's good. He smiled faintly, but didn't really see her. His eyes flicked back to his phone. Papa, she tried again. Can I ask you something? Go on. Do you know what numbers mean? That made him pause for a fraction of a second. Numbers mean success, Zara. They tell us if we're doing well. She hesitated, remembering Amal's words. Amal said numbers mean how much you share and how much you keep. Raymond raised an eyebrow. Amal? The girl outside your office. She was teaching me today. He sighed quietly, setting the phone down at last. Zara, you shouldn't sit with street children. They're not. It's not safe. She wasn't dangerous, Zara whispered. She was kind. And smart. Smarter than my tutors. Her honesty made him uncomfortable. You have everything you need here. Books, teachers, comfort. You don't need to go outside for lessons. Zara looked around the vast room, the silent piano, the giant study desk, the tablet glowing with homework apps. Everything gleamed, yet everything felt hollow. Money builds houses, she murmured, but not homes. Raymond blinked, caught off guard. Where did you hear that? She looked up, her small eyes steady. I just thought of it. He chuckled faintly, deflecting emotion with habit. You're too young to think about such things. No, Papa, she said quietly. I'm just old enough to notice them. The tutor cleared his throat awkwardly. Shall we continue tomorrow, sir? Yes, Raymond said absently, already glancing at a new email. When Zara turned back to her notebook, she saw the page full of equations but couldn't remember solving any of them. Her mind drifted again, to the sound of chalk, to Amal's soft voice explaining division with stories. For the first time, learning had felt alive, human. Dinner was quiet. The long dining table could seat 20, yet only 2 plates were served, one for her, one for her father. They ate mostly in silence, interrupted by the occasional ping of Raymond's phone. The food was perfect, the mood mechanical. May I go to my room? Zara asked. Raymond nodded without looking up. Of course, sweetheart. Sleep early. She left the table, but didn't go upstairs. Instead, she walked to the tall window overlooking the city. Down below, the streets shimmered with light, noisy, messy, alive. Somewhere out there, Amal might still be teaching beneath the flickering street lamp, surrounded by children who listened with shining eyes. The thought tugged at Zara's heart. She pressed her forehead to the glass and whispered, If only Papa could learn what I did on the sidewalk. Hours later, when the mansion was quiet and Raymond's office light finally went dark, Zara slipped on a hoodie over her nightdress. She tiptoed down the staircase, shoes in hand, her heartbeat quick but steady. The guards at the front gate were distracted by a delivery truck, and she used that moment to slide past the side door. The cool night air brushed her cheeks as she stepped outside for the first time without permission. The city smelled of dust, diesel, and dreams. She didn't know exactly where to go, only that she needed to find Amal again, the girl who had made learning feel like magic. Behind her, the Raymond mansion glowed like a glass fortress, beautiful, empty, and blind to the life beating just beyond its gates. Zara looked back once, whispered a quiet promise to herself, and started walking toward the heart of the city, toward the lesson she wasn't supposed to learn. The city slept under a restless sky. Beneath a cracked bridge, where rainwater trickled down concrete walls and the hum of traffic echoed like distant thunder, Amal sat cross-legged on a worn mat. A faint yellow bulb, powered by a stolen wire, flickered above her. Around her, 5 children huddled close, their faces lit by the pale glow of chalk-white letters scratched onto a broken slate. "Okay," Amal said, her voice soft but clear. "If we have 6 apples and 3 children, how many apples does each get?" "2," shouted a little boy with a missing tooth. She smiled. "Very good, Junaid. And if one of you shares his apple with someone who has none?" The smallest girl, barefoot and shivering, raised her hand. "Then he gets half?" Amal shook her head gently.
No.
"Then he gets double, because sharing makes you bigger here." She touched her heart. The children giggled, though they didn't fully understand. Still, they repeated it like a spell. "Sharing makes you bigger." The chalk in her hand was half a stub, her book a patchwork of torn pages bound with string. But to Amal, this corner under the bridge was more than a shelter. It was a classroom, her world. Her stomach growled quietly. She hadn't eaten since morning, but hunger was something she'd learned to ignore, the way one learns to ignore background noise. What she couldn't ignore was the ache in her chest, the longing to teach in a real school again. Once, not long ago, she had won. A uniform too big for her frame. A father who'd walk her to class every morning before heading to his construction job. She still remembered his laugh, warm and heavy like sunlight on her shoulders. Then one afternoon, the scaffolding collapsed. The next day, the landlord took their room. By the end of that week, Amal's life had become a sequence of survival. Odd jobs, shared food, borrowed blankets. But she refused to let the world make her small. By day, she sold flowers at traffic lights. By night, she taught whatever she remembered. Numbers, letters, little pieces of knowledge she clung to like treasures. "If I can't have a classroom," she once told herself, "then I'll build one where no one looks." A gust of cold wind swept through the underpass. The bulb flickered. Rain began to fall harder. Amal held a piece of plastic over the children's heads. "Keep your books dry," she said. "Tomorrow we'll learn new words." "Teacher," one of them asked, "why you always teach? Don't you want to play?" Amal smiled, her eyes distant. "I do play. When you all understand something new, that's my game." They laughed, their voices echoing softly in the tunnel. When the children finally drifted off to sleep on their makeshift mats, Amal remained awake, hugging her knees, watching raindrops slide down the concrete pillars. Her eyes were tired but alive, the eyes of someone who carried dreams larger than her circumstances. She whispered into the night, "One day, I'll have a real classroom. One where no one feels small." Her biggest dream wasn't food, it was a classroom. Hours passed. The rain eased into mist. From beyond the bridge came the faint crunch of footsteps. Amal turned sharply, alert. A small figure in a hoodie approached, clutching a flashlight. "Who's there?" Amal called, defensive at first. "It's me," came a small voice. "Zara." Amal blinked in surprise. The beam of light hit the girl's face, the same clean uniform, now covered by a hoodie, her cheeks flushed from the cold night air. "Zara? What are you doing here? It's so late." "I came to see you," Zara said, stepping closer. I wanted to learn again. Amal stood, brushing chalk dust from her palms. You shouldn't be here. It's not safe. I had to come, Zara said quietly. You teach different. You make it feel like it matters. The sincerity in her voice melted Amal's resistance. Still, she asked, won't your parents worry? Zara looked down. Papa doesn't notice. He's always busy. For a moment, silence stretched between them. Two worlds meeting again, divided by class but united by loneliness. Amal softened. All right.
Sit.
But only for a little while. Zara smiled and sat beside her, pulling out a small notebook. Amal picked up the chalk stub. Tonight, she said, we'll learn about words. Because words can build as much as numbers can. As they wrote together, a streetlight flickered above, casting shifting shadows around them. The sight of these two girls, one wrapped in privilege, the other in hardship, felt almost poetic against the gray city backdrop. Zara asked quietly, do you ever wish to stop teaching? Amal thought for a moment. Sometimes. When I'm tired. But then I remember someone has to start the change. Even if it's small. Zara nodded, her eyes wide. Maybe I can help you. Amal smiled, not mocking, but gently realistic. Maybe you already are. They worked until the bulb finally went out, leaving only the moonlight between them. Amal tucked her notebook close to her chest as Zara stood to leave. Will I see you again? Zara asked. Maybe, Amal said, though something inside her already knew. The world didn't let moments like these last forever. As Zara disappeared into the foggy street, Amal looked up at the faint glow of the city's skyline and whispered to herself, one day, they'll listen to a girl like me. The underpass was quiet again, but hope lingered, small, fragile, glowing like the last ember of a candle that refused to die. The morning sun spread soft gold across the city park, glinting off dewdrops and the distant shimmer of car windows. Pigeons scattered as Zara walked briskly along the cobblestone path, a lunchbox in one hand and a small book tucked under her arm. Her heart thudded with quiet excitement. Today, she wasn't sneaking out for adventure. She was returning to a promise. Under a wide banyan tree near the park's edge, Amal was already there, surrounded by two younger children, teaching them words she'd scribbled with chalk on a low wall. Her bare feet brushed against fallen leaves. Her eyes lit up when she saw Zara approaching. You came, Amal said, surprised but smiling. I brought lunch, Zara replied, proudly lifting the box. And a book. You said you like stories. Amal's gaze softened as she took the book, The Little Prince, its pages slightly worn. It's beautiful, she whispered, almost reverently. Books smell like home. They sat together beneath the tree. Amal opened the box, gasping softly at the sight of sandwiches, fruit, and a small carton of juice. She hesitated before taking a bite. This is too much. It's just food, Zara said simply. You teach me, I share lunch. That's fair. Amal smiled, humbled by the innocence. For a moment, the noise of the park faded, just two girls from different worlds laughing over crumbs and stories. Zara asked curiously, do you ever wish to stop living here? Amal thought for a while. Sometimes. But then I think if I leave, who'll teach these kids? Maybe I'm supposed to stay until something changes. Zara nodded, impressed. Papa says change comes from power. Amal shook her head gently. No. Change comes when someone cares enough to start it. Her words hung in the air, simple but weighty. A truth too big for their age, too sharp for the quiet morning. But the world was watching. Across the park, a security guard spotted them. The billionaire's daughter sitting with a ragged girl. His brows furrowed. Pulling out his phone, he whispered urgently, Sir, you might want to see this. Hours later, the peace of the park cracked. A black Mercedes rolled up the driveway. Doors opened, Polished shoes hit the pavement, and Mr. Raymond stepped out, his expression tight, voice clipped. The driver pointed toward the banyan tree. "There, sir." Zara looked up mid-laughter. Her face froze. "Papa." Amal straightened immediately, dusting her hands on her worn dress. The warmth between them vanished under the sudden shadow of authority. "Zara Raymond." His voice was firm but not loud. "I thought we discussed this." "Papa, please." "I said no more meeting strangers in the street." He turned toward Amal, his tone sharpening. "And you, why are you here with my daughter?" Amal didn't flinch. "She came to me." Raymond blinked, momentarily thrown off by her composure. "You think it's appropriate to sit with her here? You could have asked." "Asked who?" Amal's voice was steady, almost calm. "Would anyone have listened?" Zara stepped forward, tears forming. "Papa, she didn't do anything wrong. She just teaches me. She's my friend." "This is not how the world works, Zara," Raymond said tightly. "You can't just—" Amal interrupted softly. "You can't buy learning, sir. You can share it." The park seemed to go silent for a moment. Even the wind paused. Raymond stared at her, this thin, barefoot girl with the courage to look him in the eye. Her tone wasn't rude. It was honest. Disarmingly so. Zara reached for Amal's hand. "She's not like others, Papa. She doesn't want money." Amal withdrew her hand gently. "Your father's right, Zara. Our worlds are different." Zara shook her head, voice breaking. "Then maybe our worlds are wrong." Raymond exhaled sharply, turning away, as if unsure what to feel. Behind him, the driver waited awkwardly, sensing tension but not understanding its weight. Finally, Raymond spoke, not as a billionaire, but as a man trying to regain control of something he didn't fully grasp. "Get in the car, Zara." Zara obeyed, her eyes fixed on Amal through the car window. Amal stood silently under the banyan tree, the book pressed to her chest. As the car pulled away, a gust of wind lifted a page of The Little Prince, flipping it open to a line that read, "What is essential is invisible to the eye." Amal looked up at the retreating car, her reflection faintly visible in its dark glass. The morning sun barely pierced the tinted windows of Raymond Global Headquarters, a skyscraper built from ambition, arrogance, and glass. Inside the boardroom, silence hung heavier than the polished air conditioning. Screens flickered to life, all displaying the same image: a young homeless girl teaching the billionaire's daughter beneath a banyan tree. It had gone viral overnight. News tickers screamed, "Heart of Gold" or "PR stunt." Comment threads overflowed. The homeless girl should be given a scholarship. Even billionaires need humanity lessons. Is Raymond's empire as cold as his mansion? Raymond sat at the head of the long marble table, eyes fixed on the image. Zara's laughter, Amal's worn dress, the chalk-dusted wall. It was such a simple moment, yet the world had twisted it into a battlefield. Across from him, his PR director, a sharp-suited woman with nerves of steel, broke the silence. "Sir, this is a Category A viral incident. The narrative is slipping away from us." "How bad?" he asked quietly. "Bad enough that shareholders are calling it a branding risk. They say you look disconnected, the cold billionaire trope. The public loves the girl. She's become a symbol of hope." Raymond's CFO leaned forward, his tone clinical. "We can fix this. Pay her family off. Offer her a donation, something that looks compassionate but keeps her quiet." Raymond's gaze didn't move from the photo. "She doesn't have a family." That stopped the room. The PR director cleared her throat. "Then I'll pay someone to represent her. Set up a charity in her name. We control the message and the storm passes." Raymond finally looked up, his expression unreadable. "Control the message," he repeated softly, almost to himself. "Like controlling people." The CFO frowned. "Sir, with respect, this isn't about morality. It's about market value." Raymond leaned back, folding his hands. Market value, he murmured. And what about human value? No one answered. The screens shifted to live footage, talk shows discussing the story. One host said passionately, "That little girl is proof that education isn't about privilege, it's about purpose." Another countered, "Let's not romanticize poverty. The billionaire should be ashamed his daughter needed the streets to learn kindness." Raymond's jaw tightened. The words stung, not because they were wrong but because they might be right.
Int.
Raymond's office, later. He dismissed the team. The door closed, leaving him alone with the city skyline, a world he had built from nothing. On the wall hung framed awards, glossy headlines, and photos from charity galas. They suddenly looked hollow. He turned his chair toward the window. The city stretched below, towers rising from dust, people moving like tiny dots.
He used to be one of those dots.
A flicker of memory hit him. Flashback, EXT, Small Market Street, 25 years ago. A barefoot boy, young Raymond, sold secondhand phone parts under a tattered umbrella. Rain poured, soaking his worn shirt. He counted a few coins, shivering, eyes full of hunger and hope. A teacher once told him, "Education is your only escape." But when his father fell sick, escape meant survival. School had to wait. Back to present. Raymond blinked, throat tight. He hadn't thought of that boy in years. The one who believed knowledge could change his life, until life changed first. He looked again at the viral photo on his desk. Amal's face, focused, kind, fearless. That was the look of someone who had nothing but still gave everything. A knock broke his thoughts. His assistant, hesitant, peeked in. "Sir, the media's outside. They want a statement." He stood slowly. "Tell them I'll address it." "Sir, the board insists you deny involvement. Say it was spontaneous, that you didn't even know the girl." Raymond's eyes darkened. "But I do know her." "Sir?" He looked toward the city again, voice low. "I know what it's like to want to learn and have nowhere to sit. To be invisible." The assistant didn't know how to respond. "Prepare a press conference," Raymond said at last. "No scripts. No spin."
Int.
Press room, afternoon. Flashbulbs exploded as he stepped to the podium. Reporters fired questions. "Mr. Raymond, is the photo real? Will you fund the girl's education? Is this charity or guilt?" He raised a hand for silence. "Yes, the photo is real," he began evenly. "The girl's name is Amal. She was teaching my daughter something no private school could, compassion." A murmur rippled through the room. "I've spent my life building an empire," he continued. "But I forgot what it means to build people. This incident isn't a scandal. It's a mirror." The crowd fell silent. "I'm meeting Amal again," he said simply. "Not as a billionaire. As a man who still has something to learn."
Int.
Raymond's car, later. The city passed by in blurs of glass and noise. His phone buzzed with board alerts, messages, warnings. He ignored them all, eyes fixed on the passing streets, the underpass, the chalk marks fading in rain, the place where it all began. He whispered under his breath, half to himself, half to that boy from the past, "A picture can destroy a fortune or save a soul." And for the first time in years, he didn't know which one he wanted. Mini hook and line. The billionaire who once sold scraps was now about to buy back his own humanity, one lesson at a time. Night draped itself over the Raymond mansion like a velvet curtain, heavy, silent, unblinking. Inside, the grand library glowed with a soft amber light, rows of untouched books stretching into the shadows. It was a room built to inspire thought, yet rarely used for it. Raymond sat alone in the leather chair, sleeves rolled, tie loosened. His laptop screen glimmered in the dimness, playing a recording that had quietly reached him through a journalist's inbox. Raw, unedited, real. On the screen, Amal knelt beneath a crumbling bridge, surrounded by half a dozen children. Rain dripped through cracks above, tracing lines of silver down the concrete. Yet her voice, calm, steady, radiant, filled the darkness like light itself. "If I can learn without a roof," she told them, chalk in hand, "maybe the roof is what's missing, not the dream." The kids giggled. She smiled, erasing a mistake and drawing again. Her handwriting was uneven but determined, her tone full of belief. Raymond leaned forward, elbows on his knees. The line echoed in his mind, circling like a haunting melody. Maybe the roof is what's missing. He paused the video, staring at the frozen frame. Amal's face mid-laughter, rain streaking her cheek like tears that didn't belong to sorrow. He whispered to himself, "How did I forget this?" The room answered only with silence and the faint ticking of a clock too elegant to comfort.
Int.
Mansion hallway, later. He walked slowly down the hallway, past portraits of ancestors, stern men in suits, eyes painted with pride, not kindness. He wondered what they'd think of him now, a man who built towers yet stood shaken by a girl with chalk. His reflection in the glass door looked older than he remembered. For the first time, wealth looked like weight. He called his driver. "Get the car." No security detail. "Sir, it's late. Just the car." EXT. Underpass shelter, night. The city slept unevenly, bright in places, broken in others. Beneath a quiet underpass, a few oil lamps burned faintly, their light trembling against wet walls. Amal was there, sorting through scraps of paper, tomorrow's lessons. She looked up when headlights flashed near the curb. Raymond stepped out, coat folded over his arm, the air between them thick with awkwardness and rain. Amal stood, cautious. "You shouldn't be here, sir. People will talk again." He smiled faintly, a sad kind of smile. "Let them. I came to listen this time." She hesitated. "Listen."
Yes. To you.
For a moment, neither spoke. A drop of water landed between them, rippling in a small puddle. Raymond broke the silence. "I saw your video. The children, the lessons. You could be teaching in the best schools. You have a gift." Amal's expression didn't soften. "A gift doesn't need a stage, sir. It needs purpose." He nodded, humbled. "Then let me give it one. I want to fund your education. You deserve a real school, real books, a real roof." Her eyes flicked toward the children sleeping on makeshift mats. "And them? What about them? If I go study under your roof, who'll teach them under this one?" He blinked, unsure how to answer. She stepped closer, her voice firm but not unkind. "I'm not a charity case, sir. I don't need saving. I just need a partner, someone who believes these kids deserve what your daughter has." Raymond's throat tightened. "A partner," he repeated, the word foreign on his tongue. He was used to deals, not equals. "Yes," she said simply. "You have money. I have a mission. Let's build something that belongs to both." Her confidence, quiet, unwavering, disarmed him more than any boardroom negotiation ever had. He looked at her for a long moment, seeing not a homeless girl, but a leader in the making. The kind he'd spent his life trying to become, but had somehow missed along the way. Finally, he nodded.
All right.
No charity. Partnership. Amal smiled, a small, tired, genuine smile. "Then we start tomorrow." Raymond exhaled deeply, almost a laugh. "You're not even going to ask how." "I'll teach you that part," she said. They both chuckled softly, and for a brief instant, the sound made the night feel lighter.
Int.
Car, later. As Raymond drove back, the city lights blurred through rain on the windshield. His mind played her words again. Some lessons cost nothing, yet change everything. He realized this was one of them. For years, he had measured worth in numbers, power, success. But tonight, a barefoot girl had redrawn his entire definition of wealth, not by asking but by standing her ground. He smiled faintly to himself. For the first time in his life, he wasn't leading the story, he was learning it. Mini hook and line. In a world built by contracts, a girl with chalk had just taught a billionaire the meaning of choice, the kind made not by hand, but by heart. The city awoke to something new, not a scandal, not a sale, but a story. News headlines flashed across screens, voices overlapped, cameras rolled. The homeless teacher who changed a billionaire. From sidewalk lessons to social revolution. And at the center of it all, Amal, chalk still dusting her fingers, stood beside Raymond, now in rolled-up sleeves, at the entrance of a half-built structure. A banner fluttered above them, painted in blue and gold. Pathway, a school for every child. Montage, various locations. EXT, construction site, morning. Workers haul bricks and steel while Amal moves among them, her notebook clutched tightly. Raymond walks beside her, not commanding, just listening. Make the windows wide, Amal says, pointing to the blueprint. Children should see the sky when they study. Raymond smiles. And the roof. She grins faintly. Strong enough to survive dreams. He laughs, genuinely this time.
Done.
They exchange a look that's not charity, not business, just shared belief.
Int.
Temporary classroom, day. Rows of kids sit on mismatched benches, chalkboards propped on crates. Amal writes pathway in large letters. Zara sits among them, eyes shining. Welcome, Amal says softly, to the place where learning begins, not ends. The children clap, their joy echoing against concrete walls. From the doorway, Raymond watches, quiet pride glowing beneath years of restraint. EXT, TV studio, night, news clip. A journalist beams into the camera. In just weeks, the Pathway Initiative has drawn national attention. The unlikely partnership between billionaire Arif Raymond and former homeless girl Amal is inspiring millions. Cut to another segment. But not everyone's applauding. Investors claim Raymond's humanitarian focus threatens corporate priorities.
Int.
Boardroom, day. A circle of executives watches footage of kids learning under the new Pathway sign. The CFO frowns. This is turning into a circus. He's putting company money into charity. Another adds sharply. She's bad optics for our image. Untrained, emotional, unpredictable. Investors are nervous, someone mutters. They didn't sign up for street school politics. EXT, Pathway School, evening. Amal stands on scaffolding, supervising the painting of bright murals, trees, books, and open skies. Her laughter rises above the hammering, but when her phone buzzes, she steps aside to answer. Amal, it's me. Raymond's voice sounds heavier than usual. We need to talk. The board is threatening to pull out. She takes a breath, steady. Because of me? Because they don't understand you. Or because I don't belong in their world? Silence. Then softly, that's what I'm trying to change. Amal looks around at the children watching her through the half-built windows. Then don't change me to fit them, sir. Let's change the reason they can't see. Raymond exhales, the sound tired but touched with resolve. You're not an easy partner, Amal. You didn't need easy, she replies gently. You needed honest. He laughs quietly. Then, honest it is.
Int.
Classroom, night. The day ends, but Amal stays behind, fixing broken desks and rearranging supplies. Zara helps quietly, humming under her breath. You know, Miss Amal, Zara says. Papa smiles more now. Amal pauses, surprised. Does he? Zara nods. He says people who teach should be paid more than people who build apps. Amal chuckles. Then your father is learning fast. She ruffles Zara's hair, but her smile fades slightly as thunder rumbles outside. Through the window, she sees a news van approaching. EXT, Pathway School, continuous. Reporters swarm the gate, microphones flashing. Questions fly. Amal, are you taking money from Raymond's company? Is Pathway just a PR project? Are you qualified to run a school? Amal freezes for a second, The same voices that once ignored her now tear her apart under spotlights. Raymond's car arrives moments later. He pushes through the cameras, shielding her. That's enough. She's building something real, and none of you can headline that into dust. The crowd roars louder, questions blending into noise. Inside, Amal grips the chalkboard to steady herself. She's been here before, unwanted, underestimated. But this time, she isn't alone.
Int.
Raymond's office, night. Later that night, they sit across from each other. The city lights flicker beyond the glass. Raymond looks exhausted. They want me to back out, to protect my image. And you? She asks quietly. He hesitates. I built an empire by caring what people think. Then maybe it's time to build something by caring what people need. He meets her eyes. There's no defiance there, only clarity. Finally, he nods slowly. Pathway stays, even if they leave. Montage, Hope, Indiana motion. Construction continues despite reduced funding. Raymond visits often, helping lift boxes, teaching coding lessons. Amal mentors older students, her voice echoing through corridors that smell of new paint and possibility. Zara paints a mural of the first sidewalk lesson, a girl teaching numbers under sunlight. EXT, Pathway School, sunset. Weeks later, the building stands complete, modest but alive. Children run through its gates as Amal watches, chalk still in hand. Raymond joins her, handing her a set of small brass keys. It's yours now, he says. She shakes her head.
No, sir.
It's ours. They stand in silence, watching the children play, laughter ringing through the air like music. Mini hook and line. For the first time, Amal had a roof, not just above her head, but beneath her dream. But every light attracts a shadow, and theirs was just beginning to stir. Night had fallen hard over Pathway School. The classrooms, once filled with laughter and chalk dust, now stood silent. Rain tapped against the windows like a nervous visitor, whispering rumors that had already torn through the world outside. Amal sat alone in the small school office, the only light coming from a desk lamp that flickered weakly, fighting the darkness. On the desk, newspapers lay scattered, each headline louder than the last. Pathway scandal. Funds misused? Homeless teacher caught in donation controversy. Billionaire's project faces investigation. Her name, the one she'd built with sweat, hope, and chalk, was now being dragged across every channel. She held one paper in her trembling hands, eyes scanning the lies. They claimed she'd taken money meant for the school. They called her fraud, an opportunist. The same voices that had once praised her now shouted for her fall. A knock came at the door. It was Raymond's assistant, his face pale. Miss Amal, Mr. Raymond asked me to speak with you. She looked up slowly. He didn't come himself? He's in a meeting with the board. It's complicated. Amal gave a sad smile. It always is, isn't it? The assistant hesitated, then placed a folder on her desk. He asked me to tell you. She cut in softly. That it's over? He didn't answer. Silence was enough.
Int.
School hallway, night. Amal walked through the empty corridor, each step echoing against the walls she had painted with children only weeks ago. Their drawings still hung there, stick figures of laughter, of books, of her. She paused at one, a child's sketch of a woman holding chalk under the sun. Written below in uneven letters, Miss Amal, my first teacher. Her throat tightened. The door creaked open behind her. Raymond stood there, drenched from the rain, face drawn with exhaustion and something worse, guilt. Amal, he said quietly. She didn't turn around. You sent someone to end what we started. He stepped closer. The investors, the board demanded action. They want to audit every donation. They say your name is costing us millions. My name, she repeated bitterly. It was worth headlines when I made you human. Now it's just a liability. He flinched. It's not like that. It's exactly like that, she said, finally facing him. Her eyes were wet, but steady. You were my partner. But the moment it got hard, you turned back into the man the world expected. I'm trying to protect the project. From me? She interrupted. You can't protect something by destroying the person who built it. Raymond's voice cracked. You think I don't believe you? I do. But the board. The board doesn't run your conscience, she said softly. Her words landed like quiet thunder. He looked away, unable to meet her gaze. I just need time to clear things up. Amal nodded faintly.
Time.
That's what poor people never have, Mr. Raymond. We either survive today or not at all. The way she said Mr. Raymond, formal, distant, cut through him like a blade. She walked to the window, watching the rain streak down the glass. Do you remember what I told your daughter the first day we met? He shook his head, voice low. Remind me. I said numbers only matter when they measure what you share. She turned to him, eyes glistening. I guess some lessons don't stick. He stepped forward, desperate now. Amal, please. Don't walk away. Let me fix this. She smiled, the saddest smile he had ever seen. You can't fix trust, sir. You can only choose it. She picked up her old notebook, the one made from stitched-together scrap paper, and slipped it into her bag. I taught your daughter, she said softly. Maybe that's enough. And then she walked past him, her shadow stretching long under the flickering hallway lights. EXT, Pathway School, continuous. Rain poured harder now. Amal stepped out into it without an umbrella, each drop washing away a piece of the world she had built. Behind her, the school's glowing sign, Pathway, flickered uncertainly, like a dying promise. Through the glass, Raymond watched her leave. He didn't move, didn't call out. His reflection stared back at him, a man with everything, standing powerless before a woman who had nothing but conviction. As she disappeared into the rain, he whispered her name once, Amal, but the storm carried it away.
Int.
Newsroom montage. Anchors debate her integrity. Social media burns with divided outrage. Commentators say the billionaire was naive to trust her. Others whisper, maybe she was framed. Somewhere in the noise, the truth drowned. Quiet, ignored, small.
Int.
Raymond's office, late night. Raymond sat in darkness, the city lights behind him like distant fires. On his desk lay Amal's handmade notebook, forgotten during her exit. He opened it slowly. Inside were pages of lessons written in uneven pencil, fractions, alphabets, stories. Between them, a quote scribbled in her handwriting. Teaching is faith, believing in change before it believes in you. He closed the notebook, his eyes stinging. For the first time, silence felt unbearable. Mini hook and line. The world had turned against her, and he had stood still. But guilt is louder than applause, and it was just beginning to speak. The sun had returned after weeks of storm. A large crowd gathered before the newly rebuilt Pathway Learning Trust, banners fluttering, cameras flashing, reporters murmuring. Children clutched small handmade signs. Welcome back, Miss Amal. The air buzzed with anticipation. It wasn't just an event, it was Judgment Day. At the center of the stage stood Mr. Raymond, immaculate as always, but this time without the shield of power. No entourage, no luxury car waiting. Just a man with a microphone and the weight of his conscience. Behind him, the school's new sign gleamed, Pathway Learning Trust. Education belongs to everyone. Raymond took a deep breath, his hands trembling slightly. The crowd's murmurs quieted. Raymond, addressing the crowd. A few months ago, I thought success meant numbers. I built towers, not bridges. I mistook wealth for wisdom. He paused, scanning the audience. The front rows were filled with reporters, investors, and government officials, the same people who once condemned him. And then, a girl with no home taught my daughter mathematics on a sidewalk. A ripple of recognition moved through the crowd. Cameras clicked rapidly. She didn't ask for money. She didn't ask for fame. She just believed that learning was the only real luxury. And I, with all my privilege, failed to see that. He swallowed hard, his voice thickening. When the world turned against her, I stayed silent. I let fear speak louder than truth. And for that, I owe her and every child she inspired an apology. A hush fell. Even the reporters lowered their cameras for a moment.
Cut to.
At the edge of the crowd, a figure stood quietly, Amal. Wearing a simple white dress, her posture calm but eyes uncertain. She hadn't planned to come, but she had to see if redemption was real. Back to stage. Raymond continued, voice steadier now. The truth is, Amal never took a single rupee. The accusations were lies, born from fear, not facts. I let others convince me to protect my image instead of protecting what mattered. That ends today. He gestured to a covered plaque beside him. Pathway is no longer a company. It's a trust. Free, open, owned by the people it serves. He reached for the cloth, pulling it away. The gold letters beneath read, Pathway Learning Trust, founded by Amal Khan and Raymond Ali. A gasp spread through the audience. The name Amal Khan shone under the sunlight like vindication itself. Raymond looked directly into the crowd. Amal, if you're here, I'd be honored to share this stage, not as your benefactor, but as your student. For a long moment, no one moved. Then the crowd parted slowly. Amal stepped forward, hesitant but resolute. The murmurs rose, half awe, half disbelief. As she reached the stage, Raymond descended the steps himself, meeting her halfway. Cameras zoomed in. Microphones lifted. He extended his hand. You taught me more than any boardroom ever could. Amal looked at him, this man who had once turned away from her, and then took his hand. Their handshake was firm, unflinching, human. The crowd erupted. Applause thundered. Some reporters stood. Others wiped tears discreetly. Raymond, turning to microphones. The world doesn't change with donations. It changes when we learn to see each other. Amal, softly, but clear enough for all to hear. And when we stop measuring worth by what fits in a wallet. Laughter rippled through the audience. Warm, genuine. Montage, the rebirth. Raymond and Amal touring classrooms filled with kids. Zara sitting beside street children, learning and laughing. Volunteers painting walls with bright colors. News anchors declaring, from scandal to salvation, the pathway revolution. A viral clip of Raymond saying, she reminded me what education truly means. The internet that once destroyed them now rebuilt them, image by image, share by share.
Int.
School library, later. After the event, Raymond found Amal by the shelves, placing donated books in neat rows. He said quietly, I don't deserve forgiveness. She smiled faintly. It's not about deserving. It's about doing better. He nodded, eyes damp. You know, I thought I was saving you that night at the shelter. But you were saving me. Amal paused, then replied softly, maybe we just saved each other. EXT, Pathway School, sunset. Children ran across the courtyard, their laughter echoing through the warm evening air. The once broken sign now gleamed gold under the fading light. Raymond stood beside Amal, watching the students write on chalkboards, their hands covered in dust, the color of dreams. You think this will last? He asked. Only if we keep learning, she said. He smiled. Then let's never stop. Narration, V.O. Raymond. Sometimes redemption isn't found in grand gestures, but in listening, truly listening, to the people the world ignores. She reminded me that education isn't charity. It's equality. And equality is the one thing worth being rich in. The camera panned upward, catching the last rays of sunlight glinting off the words on the new school's entrance. Education belongs to everyone. Fade out. Mini hook and line. One speech changed everything. But one teacher changed everyone. The golden hour light spills over the new pathway learning trust, soft, warm, forgiving. The same ground where once Amal drew equations in chalk now carries the laughter of children, the rhythm of pencils on real paper, the hum of a life reborn. Rows of kids sit under the open sky, their voices blending into one gentle chorus of curiosity. Amal stands before them, no longer the homeless girl under the bridge, but Miss Amal, the teacher with purpose in her posture and peace in her eyes. She writes on the whiteboard with a steady hand. Dreams grow best in open hearts. The children repeat it aloud, their voices small yet full of conviction. She smiles, the sunlight catching the chalk dust that floats like tiny fireflies around her. Angle on, a familiar car stopping quietly by the gate. Raymond steps out, wearing a simple linen shirt, no suit, no bodyguards. He stands for a moment, just watching. There's pride in his eyes, but also humility, the kind that comes only from being broken and rebuilt. At his side, Zara runs ahead, carrying a basket of notebooks tied with ribbons. Zara, excitedly. Miss Amal, I brought the new journals you asked for. Amal turns, smiling as Zara throws her arms around her. It's the kind of hug that says thank you without words, the kind born not of gratitude, but of kinship.
Amal, warmly.
You remembered.
Zara.
I never forget my teacher's homework. They laugh softly. Raymond approaches, slow and deliberate. Raymond, I see you've rebuilt more than a school. Amal glances at the children painting a mural nearby, bright blues and yellows spelling hope. Amal, they built it. I just reminded them they could. Raymond looks around, taking it all in. Raymond, funny, this place feels richer than my office ever did. Amal, smiling faintly, because this wealth multiplies when you share it. He nods, the truth of it sitting quietly between them.
Cut to.
A child hands Amal a small, hand-drawn card. It reads, "Thank you for giving us a roof for our dreams." She kneels to the boy's height. Amal, you gave it to yourselves, my dear. I just kept the rain out. The boy grins and runs back to his group. Montage, the legacy. A news headline. Pathway expands to 3 new cities. Zara reading to street kids after school. Raymond painting a wall alongside volunteers. Amal speaking at a local community center. Education is the one inheritance that never runs out. A group of former street kids, now teenagers, teaching younger ones under her guidance. Each frame feels lighter, brighter, like redemption has finally found its home. EXT, courtyard, later. The sun dips lower. Amal closes her notebook and looks toward the fading horizon. Raymond, you ever think about what's next? Amal, gazing ahead.
This. Just more of this.
One child at a time. He smiles softly. And me? Amal looks at him, not as a billionaire, but as a man who learned. Amal, you keep listening. That's how change survives.
He nods, deeply.
Zara tugs at Amal's sleeve, pointing to the board.
Zara.
What's today's final lesson, Miss Amal? Amal takes the chalk again, writes in neat, confident strokes. We all have riches. Some carry them in their hearts. She sets the chalk down. The children repeat the line in unison as the wind lifts their voices into the glowing sky. Narration VO, Amal. I used to think education needed walls, roofs, and desks. But I learned it only needs faith, faith in the power of change, in people who still believe, even when the world forgets them. She turns to see Raymond watching the children, smiling quietly, eyes wet with something more than pride. Some students teach lessons the world forgets. Some teachers never stop learning. The camera drifts upward, the courtyard shrinking beneath a sky painted orange and gold. Children's laughter fades into the soft notes of piano music. On screen, the final words appear. The richest people are those who help others learn.